Every parent dreams of raising a wise child, someone thoughtful, confident, and able to make good decisions on their own. But here's the quiet truth. Most of us teach in a way that only creates obedience, not wisdom. We talk, they listen. We explain, they nod. We lecture, they shut down. There's a better way, a gentler way, a way Socrates used 2,400 years ago, and it still works beautifully at the dinner table tonight. Because wisdom doesn't start with answers, it starts with the right questions. And if you want your child to think for themselves, not just follow instructions, you only need 3 simple questions you can use during dinner, starting tonight, that quietly shape their reasoning, their empathy, and their confidence. Stop lecturing, start guiding. Your child is already capable of deep thought. You just have to invite it. Modern parenting is full of instructions and empty of reflection. We tell kids what to do, how to behave, what to avoid, and then we're surprised when they struggle to make decisions on their own. Kids today follow rules but rarely understand why those rules matter. They clean their room because we said so. They apologize because we told them to. They choose an activity because it's what everyone else is doing. And without realizing it, we solve their problems so quickly that they never get to wrestle with thought. A child says, "I'm bored," and we hand them a device. They say, "She was mean," and we tell them what to feel. They say, "I don't know what to do," and we make the choice for them. But Socrates saw something thousands of years ago that modern parenting often forgets. Unexamined obedience becomes adult confusion. If a child never gets to question, explore, or reason, they grow up unsure of their own mind. And here's the real challenge. We want kids who can think, but we rarely give them the space to think. So what does thinking actually look like in a child? And how do we spark it gently without lecturing or forcing? A thinking child isn't one who knows a lot, it's one who asks a lot. That's the heart of the Socratic mindset. Curiosity matters more than correctness. Children are born with wide open minds. They ask why the sky is blue, why rules exist, why people act the way they do. But somewhere along the way, adults start shutting down that natural curiosity with short, efficient answers. Because I said so, because that's the rule, because that's just how it is. Every time we cut a question short, the child learns a quiet lesson. Don't explore, just accept. But Socrates believed the opposite, that the moment a child begins to explore, they begin to think. Imagine this at home. 2 kids fight over one toy. Instead of saying, "Give it back, be nice," you ask, "What do you think would be fair for both of you?" Or your child comes home upset because someone ignored them at school. Instead of offering instant comfort, you ask, "Why do you think they acted that way? And what choices do you have now?" Suddenly, the child isn't being lectured, they're leading the thought process. They're not memorizing answers, they're practicing reasoning. And that is the difference between a child who simply behaves and a child who understands. So how do we spark this kind of thinking every day without turning parenting into a philosophy lecture? If you speak first, your child stops thinking. That's the foundation of Socratic parenting. You reverse the roles. Instead of giving answers, you invite your child to build their own. And you only need 3 simple questions you can use during dinner, starting tonight, that quietly shape their reasoning, their empathy, and their confidence. Stop lecturing, start guiding. Your child is already capable of deep thought. You just have to invite it. Imagine this at dinner with your 8-year-old. They tell you a classmate grabbed their pencil and laughed. Instead of reacting, you gently ask, "What do you think was going on with them today?" They think and answer, "Maybe they were trying to be funny." Why did it feel wrong to you? Because they didn't ask. It felt like they didn't respect me. What do you think you could do next time? I could tell them calmly that I don't like it. Notice what happened. You didn't lecture, you didn't fix it. You guided the reasoning. and they arrived at the wisdom themselves. When children articulate their own logic, they develop confidence, emotional maturity, and self-ownership. But let's be honest, conversations don't always go smoothly. Most parents fear silence. Socrates used it as a mirror. Where adults rush to fill the gap with advice, children fill the gap with thought. And thought is exactly what we want them to practice. The technique is simple, almost too simple. The 5-second pause. After every question, you wait. 5 slow seconds. No rescuing, no hinting, no correcting. Those seconds feel long to you, but to a child, they are space to breathe, sort ideas, and form their own reasoning. Picture this. Your child tells you they're unsure about a new friend at school. Instead of jumping in with a lecture on good influences, you ask, "What do you notice about how this friend makes you feel?" Then you wait. 5 quiet seconds. In that silence, something beautiful happens. They look inward. They consider. They might say, "I feel nervous, like I need to impress them." A realization they reached without you delivering a speech. Or in a peer pressure situation, your child says others were daring them to cheat or break a rule. You ask, what part of that moment made you uncomfortable? Then you let silence do the heavy lifting. Soon the deeper truth emerges. I didn't like that they laughed at people who said no. This is the magic of the pause. Children discover wisdom by hearing their own thoughts. When you stop rushing to fix, you start creating thinkers. And yet, when emotions rise and logic melts away, the next principle becomes essential. You can't raise a thinker by raising a follower. If every answer comes from you, your child never learns to find answers within themselves. Socratic parenting is not about pushing conclusions. It's about inviting reflection. Instead of lecturing, you guide with gentle questions that open a doorway into self-awareness. What made that choice feel right to you at the time? Would you choose it again if the same situation happened tomorrow? And what did you hope would happen, and what actually happened? These questions don't attack, they illuminate. Picture an emotional scenario. Your child lies about finishing their homework. The usual reaction is immediate scolding, raised voice, sharp tone, punishment. The child learns one thing: fear the consequence, hide the truth. But the Socratic approach sounds different. You sit down beside them and ask, "What were you worried would happen if you told me the truth?" Pause. Then, what part of you knew it wasn't the right choice? And finally, how do you want to handle moments like this in the future? No yelling, no shame, just gently guided self-examination. And the surprising part is, children open up more when they don't feel cornered. Reflection replaces rebellion. Understanding replaces avoidance. You're not controlling their behavior. You're shaping the thinker behind the behavior. Now let's make this practical, something you can use tonight at the dinner table. If you want transformation, make it a ritual. One conversation is nice, but a consistent rhythm slowly rewires how a child sees themselves and the world. That's why the Socratic approach works best when it becomes part of daily life. At dinner each night, ask these 3 simple questions. What's one moment today you're proud of? This teaches children to notice their wins, not just their mistakes. What made it meaningful? This deepens reflection. It turns events into insight. And what might you try differently tomorrow? This builds growth mindset,
without lectures, pressure, or guilt. These questions do more than spark conversation. They create a predictable, safe space where your child leads the thinking. They don't feel judged. They don't feel tested. They simply feel invited to understand themselves. And here's the real magic. Over time, these small nightly reflections strengthen confidence, emotional awareness, and empathy. Your child begins to speak with clarity because they've learned to think with clarity. A ritual doesn't just guide behavior, it shapes identity. But the secret of Socratic parenting isn't actually about the child. It's about the parent who dares to think first.
Children don't become who you tell them to be, they become how you think. That's the hidden truth most parenting books skip. When you question, gently, consistently, and without judgment, your child doesn't just answer you, they absorb your mindset. They learn that curiosity is safe. They learn that reflection is normal. They learn that thinking is something you do together, not something they do alone. And then one day, something remarkable happens. Your child asks you a Socratic question. You're rushing, stressed, maybe frustrated, and they say, "Why do you think that made you upset?" Or, "What do you think you want to do next?" In that moment, you realize this isn't just a method, it's a culture forming inside your home. Conversations become softer, conflicts become clearer, and the atmosphere shifts from "obey me" to "grow with me." This is the quiet power of modeling thinking instead of preaching behavior. So, let's bring it all together. As we wrap up, here's the blueprint for nurturing thoughtful minds. Ask before explaining. Let curiosity lead the conversation. Use silence as a teaching space. Sometimes a pause teaches more than words ever could. Guide without controlling. Offer direction, but let discovery happen naturally. Build a dinner question ritual. Make curiosity a daily habit, woven into ordinary moments. Remember this, a child who learns to think becomes an adult who knows themselves. If this shifted how you see parenting, subscribe, and let's raise wiser humans together.